When thinking about where to holiday in Scotland, I have to admit I never thought of Banff. In fact, most people don't think of Banff as a holiday destination because whenever I told people I was coming here, they would all say, "I'd love to go there. Skiing and scenery are amazing." Sorry, that's Banff, Canada. I'd then tell them it was actually the OG Banff we were heading to, and they'd look slightly disappointed for me. So I have to admit, I did have very low expectations for this holiday, but it's fair to say, after a week here, I've been converted. It was a great place to come to, and I'd thoroughly recommend it. Hopefully this video will convince you to come and give it a try too. As we have a young son, there was one thing we wanted when booking a holiday: easy access to a beach or park. We lucked out and managed to stay in a house called Sea Breeze in an area next to Banff known as Inverboyndie. I think that's how you pronounce it. This had a park and a beach right outside our front door. The park was really well equipped and the beach was great. There must be lots of good beaches up here because despite the weather being amazing, sunny and warm all week, the beach was hardly ever busy. When visiting somewhere new, the first thing I like to do is to go for a run to get my bearings. From the house there was a choice of two routes along the coast, one to Banff and one to a small village called White Hills. I decided to head to Banff first. I wasn't sure what to expect from the town, but I was pleasantly surprised by how nice it was. There was a beach at the front, which when the tide was out was nice and sandy. I couldn't run all the way along as it was blocked off at the bridge over the River Devon. When I came back here later in the day, the tide was in and there was no sign of the beach at all. I ran through the town centre and passed by the Vinery, which seemed to be a community garden, and Banff Castle, which looked more like a house than a castle, but I'm guessing there used to be a castle there. I also had a look out for fish and chip shops and bakery, as it's always important to know where your next snack's going to come from. I ran back along the beach. For some reason, as soon as I run on sand, my dogs love to have play fights. They don't do it at other times, only on sand. I got back just in time for a warm welcome from my son. Whose glasses have gone?
Where's Daddy's glasses gone?
Where are you off to? Where are you away to? Where are you running away to? We then headed along the coast to Spey Bay, which is a beautiful coastal reserve with the largest shingle beach in Scotland. It's also home to the Scottish Dolphin Centre. I'm not sure why the Dolphin Centre is here, because when I googled where is the best place to spot dolphins, it suggested a point on the other side of the Moray Firth. Hence to say, we did not spot any dolphins whilst we were here. Alongside the Dolphin Centre is Tugnet Ice House, which is the largest surviving ice house in the UK. The building consists of 3 long brick vaulted chambers, each divided into 2 compartments. The chambers are mostly subterranean, with only 1/3 of their volume apparent from the outside. It was built to store ice for packing salmon from the Spey fishery before it was sent to market. There was a board inside with everything that had been spotted, as well as a cafe that served excellent but expensive food. We paid £40 for lunch for the 3 of us. The portions were big though, and I think I ended up eating all of mine, most of Heath's, and some of my wife's. I was very full for the rest of the day. Seeing the sign with the sightings reminded me of a time I visited an RSPB hide in Fife. Inside was a book listing all the bird sightings. There was the normal list of things like seagulls, robins and crows, etc. Someone had added golden eagle. This had provoked someone else to write after it, "No, you effing didn't." But who is he to say it wasn't there? Maybe it got lost. I think you have to take these things on trust, otherwise you wouldn't believe any of it. The key with planning a day with a toddler is to work out when he gets a nap. He tends to have one nap a day, usually after his lunch. We try to aim to either be travelling in the car or on a walk, as both are places he will fall asleep. He is a pretty good sleeper and usually nods off for an hour. He then stays awake until about 8:30 at night, when he will just fall asleep quickly, even if he was running around with lots of energy a minute before. He can go from 100% activity to 0% in a heartbeat. The next day I ran in the opposite direction to the previous day by heading to West Hills. This is a small village with an allegedly great fish and chip shop, although it was closed the day I wanted to go. I'll just have to try it the next time I'm there. The houses in these villages all tend to point perpendicular to the sea. In the olden days, people were less concerned about sea views and more concerned about the wild weather. You don't want wind and rain blasting your windows and doors. The ones you can see there were the modern flats, but in a second you'll see the old houses. In front of the houses was an area for drying clothes, but don't leave them out on a stormy day or you'll find your pants and trousers flying across the North Sea and ending up in Holland. Pitmedden Garden is a horticultural masterpiece renowned for its stunning recreated 17th century formal parterres. It's maintained by the National Trust for Scotland and offers a breathtaking glimpse into the grandeur of Scottish garden design. Well, that was the sales blurb. I admit I did not know what a parterre was. I had to look it up. It's actually a level space in a garden occupied by an ornamental arrangement of flower beds. If you're not a member of the National Trust for Scotland, then you have to pay to get in and pay to park. We decided to take out an annual membership. It's only £10 a month for a family, and it means we can use all the other National Trust properties. It's helpful to have places to go that are safe for a toddler, and National Trust places tend to have good grounds for running around in. We were going to have lunch here, but unfortunately the kitchen was closed. The venue was closing down for a winter break the following week. They were also preparing for their annual apple day, when they pick all the apples from the trees. They have an orchard with more than 200 fruit trees. The garden is a bit too formal for my taste, but Heath enjoyed it. My wife is a gardener, so though it's not her taste either, she does like seeing the planting decisions and the designs that went into this. We had originally planned to go to Fyvie Castle Garden, but I decided to go here instead as it was much further away from Banff. It's good to get long drives out of the way early. That way if you're bored, you still have places to visit that are nearby. There was a section of more informal planting and a cottage with an apple tree arch. I'm not sure if this was one type of tree or whether it was a number of trees joined together. The garden also contains a museum of rural life. This is pretty small, comprising a few sheds with old garden equipment. Overall, it was an interesting place to visit and worth a stop for an hour, although maybe not if you don't like gardens. The woman in the tickets office recommended we head to another National Trust property for lunch. She said nearby Haddo House did an excellent soup and sandwich. This grand Palladian-style mansion under the care of the National Trust for Scotland is renowned for its sumptuous interiors, beautiful terrace gardens and the sprawling country park that surrounds it. The 4th Earl served as Prime Minister to Queen Victoria, who stayed herself here in Haddo in 1857. She planted a tree in the garden which is still going strong today. During the Second World War, the house was transformed into a maternity hospital where over 1,200 babies were born. Again, that's the sales blurb. Basically, it's a big posh house. The house is only a 20-minute drive from Pitmedden. There's a long single track road to get to the house. That is a sign of wealth. The longer the road to your house, the richer you must be. The lunch was excellent, but sorry, I forgot to take any videos of it. The soups were massive and the scones were great. Afterwards we walked around the park hoping that Heath would fall asleep. It seems a popular venue as there was a lot of people out and about and the car park was nearly full. We didn't bother going into the house as interiors don't interest me or my wife, but supposedly it's very nice. Overall, it's a nice place to stop to get food and a walk. On our way back to Banff, we decided to visit Tarlair Tidal Pool. This opened to the public in the summer of 1931 and features a unique triple pool design featuring a main swimming area, a boating pond and a paddling pool. Each pool was refreshed using water from the sea. For decades it was a vibrant hub of summer life, hosting summer galas, community events and even concerts by bands such as Wet 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 and Runrig. But as foreign holidays became more accessible, the pool's popularity waned, leading to its closure in 1995. This led to the structure falling into disrepair. Thanks to the tireless campaigning and fundraising of a dedicated community group called the Friends of Tarlair, work has begun to restore the pool back to life. The iconic white and peppermint green tea pavilion was meticulously restored and reopened to the public in March 2025. This award-winning restoration project houses a welcoming cafe and community space. On a nice day you can even sit on the terrace on the roof. We enjoyed an ice cream here and hopefully we'll be back one day for a swim once it's allowed. Despite the weather and the rest of the Scotland being wet and cold, Banff was warm and sunny, which is great for visiting play parks. A local said they had very little rain this summer and it was visible wherever we went as there was a lot of parched dry land. I don't know if we got lucky or whether it's always like this, but it did feel there was a microclimate here different to the rest of Scotland. Banff is famous for one thing, the Spotty bag shop. People come from miles around to visit. I even overheard one tourist say it was the only reason they had come to Banff. The name comes from the bag you get in the store, and the store itself is basically a tat shop on steroids. Anything you can think of is here. You go in vowing to buy nothing, but always come out with something useful. As we were here visiting in September, the store was getting all ready for Halloween.
What is lurking in the shadows? All right behind you.
The shop also sells food, so I bought a wee snack for Heath, but he promptly fell asleep. The other thing I bought was a treat for the dogs, a light up ball. Although the dogs didn't get to use it because as soon as Heath saw it, he shouted, "Mine!" After dinner, we'd always go for a walk. Heath had great fun running after myself or my wife. It was a great way to tire him out before bed. If I put scary music over this footage, it would look like a horror film rather than a boy having fun. On our last day we decided to head east along the coast of Fraserburgh to visit the National Lighthouse Museum. It is built alongside Scotland's first ever mainland lighthouse, which itself was constructed through the middle of a 16th century castle, which I think is the only one of its kind in the world. Kinnaird Head Castle was a stronghold built by the Fraser family in the 1570s. The Frasers gave their name to the local town. Recognising the strategic importance of this headland, the Commissioners of Northern Lights established their first lighthouse here in 1787 by placing a lamp on the castle's roof. Later, in 1824, the legendary lighthouse key engineer Robert Stevenson, grandfather of author Robert Louis Stevenson, engineered the definitive lighthouse tower by building it directly through the heart of the castle. This structure served mariners for nearly 2 centuries before being decommissioned in 1991. We paid for a guided tour of the lighthouse. If you have a toddler, beware that the steps and stairs are a bit tricky to navigate, but Heath enjoyed it. Not sure he was allowed to bounce on the lightkeeper's bed, but he did anyway. We were able to get outside and it was much higher than I thought it was going to be. Outside was an area to dry nets, which is still in use, although there wasn't any there when we visited. Instead, it was a good place to play hide and seek. The inside of the museum features lots of mementos and artefacts from lighthouses. Heath enjoyed running around, staring through all the lenses.
Tears. I see tears.
We stopped in Fraserburgh to buy sandwiches. There wasn't much else to do in the town, so we decided to visit the famous coastal village of Pennan. This featured in a famous Scottish film called Local Hero. One of the key plot points is that the star of the film used a telephone box on the pier there. I mentioned this to my wife, but she'd never heard of the film or the famous telephone box. Supposedly the village had to install one after the film came out because so many people visited and asked to see it. The village is set in a stunning area of coastline. You can drive all the way to the bottom of the hill, but there's also car parking at the top. We parked and walked down as I wasn't confident our van would get back up the hill. During the summer they have a small shed selling food and drinks, but when we were here everything was closed. It's a beautiful spot and well worth visiting. I'm just glad we brought our sandwiches with us because otherwise I'd have been very hungry. Overall, we had a great week on holiday in Banff. It was surprising how beautiful the area is and how much there was to do. I haven't even included our trips to Cullen, home of the famous Cullen skink soup, or Port Soy, home of the best ice cream in the area. There are lots of beautiful coastal villages and ports to see, as well as some bits which are more industrial. I like the mixture of old and new. I don't feel we saw everything, and I'd be happy to go back again next year. There was just one last thing to do before we left.
Hello, hello.